Oswell E. Spencer is basically the man who started Resident Evil. He was always this mysterious character in the background, causing every event in Resident Evil. The character that we always read about but never saw him until Resident Evil 5. Welcome to Bird's Tales, that series where we take any character from any media, break down their lives, and analyze their character. Today's subject is Oswell E. Spencer. Spencer was born sometime in 1923 into the rich and noble Spencer family. Oswell E. Spencer was the heir of the Spencer legacy. Spencer had many hobbies, including hiking, hunting, collecting knight armors, collecting artworks, and probably a lot more. Because Spencer family was nobility, I think they had a connection with another noble family, that being the Ashfords. And I think that this connection would lead to a friendship between the two heirs. Edward Ashford and Oswell E. Spencer would grow an interest in eugenics, and I believe that this would lead to a friendship with a leading figure in biology, that being Dr. James Marcus. In the 1950s, Oswell E. Spencer became a medical student. During this time, Oswell E. Spencer would go on a hiking trip in Eastern Europe. It was a solo hiking trip, probably during winter break in Eastern Europe. He was also not familiar with the area. And well, since Spencer wasn't familiar with the area, he got lost in the snow. Spencer was out there for so long that he ended up collapsing, exhausted and hungry. Spencer was on the verge of death when he was found by Mother Miranda. Mother Miranda was a cult leader and biologist that studied the mold. She took him to her village, which was an isolated village in the mountains. During the time Spencer was there, he grew an interest in the mold and he became Mother Miranda's apprentice. He studied the mold under her, and this time that he spent with Mother Miranda helped strengthen his resolve. Before I go any further, I want to play a little game. It's called Guess the Bullshit. If you do not want to play, skip to 4 minutes and 5 seconds. I'll give you 3 options and it's up to you to spot the bullshit. Option 1. Spencer was born a rich nobleman. Option 2. James Marcus is 5 years older than Oswell E. Spencer. Option 3. Spencer knew about the mold, but not once did he ever try to use it. You have 3 seconds to spot the bullshit. Time's up. If you chose option 3, you are correct. Now let me explain why that's bullshit. Why didn't Spencer try to use the mold to modify the progenitor virus? I'm not a virologist, nor do I know anything about biotechnology, but I did try to do research on if it's possible to modify a virus with fungi. And when that failed, I just asked ChatGPT, and it said it's theoretically possible. But remember, this is ChatGPT, so take that with a grain of milk. But in Resident Evil, a world where a virus can turn someone into a man-eating monster, I don't really see how that isn't possible. I know in Resident Evil 8, the letter we find from Spencer addressed to Mother Miranda, he says some shit like, the mold wouldn't help me in my endeavor. And I guess the writers just wanted fans to accept it. Well, I'm not going to accept it. The letter was written when Umbrella was founded. This means the progenitor virus was only discovered a year back. And Spencer was talking like he'd never seen Mother Miranda since the 50s. So we can't even lie to ourselves and say he tried to use it, because he didn't. And then that's not the only reason why this is bullshit. Spencer saw how the mold made Mother Miranda an immortal woman. And that's literally brought up in a letter he wrote to Mother Miranda. And you telling me a man who said this line, "I was to be a god," wouldn't want immortality? Spoiler alert, he did. For me, the Spencer that said that line would have destroyed that village and turned that bitch into a research lab. And if somebody's saying Spencer respected Mother Miranda, that's why he didn't invade the village. You telling me the same person who killed people he was friends with for years wouldn't invade that shitty village and turn that bitch into a research lab? Okay, I'm sorry if I'm taking 2 minutes just to talk about that. Anyway, Spencer left the village after realizing that everything he learned at that village wouldn't help him with his goals. Soon after leaving the village, he, Dr. James Marcus, and Edward Ashford formed a eugenics group with 2 other influential members in biology, those being Dr. Beardsley and Dr. Henry. In 1962, Spencer would begin planning to create a pharmaceutical company. I only say this because that year, Spencer contacted George Trevor, an architect. He wanted Trevor to build a mansion in the Arklay Mountains, and as we all know, the purpose of the Spencer mansion was to hide the Arklay laboratory. But I'll talk more about Spencer and Trevor later. Sometime in the 1960s, Spencer and Marcus grew an interest in the flower stereo of the sun. In Henry Travis's book series Natural History Conspectus, it was written that the flower had the ability to either grant strength or cure those who consumed it. Spencer and Marcus hypothesized that the flower contained a virus, and it was the virus that would either grant strength or cure those who were infected with it. They also believed that if this virus truly existed, it could probably be used to create the Uba Munch. In 1967, Oswell E. Spencer, James Marcus, and Brandon Bailey, Marcus's apprentice and founder of the Connections, I talk about him in this video, went on an expedition to Africa to retrieve the flower stereo of the sun. They were successful in retrieving the flower, and after examining it, they indeed found the virus. The virus was then dubbed the progenitor virus. They took some samples of the virus as well as some seeds that they were able to retrieve and returned back to Europe. They examined the progenitor virus even further with members of their eugenics circle, those members being, if anyone forgot, Ashford, Beardsley, and Henry. During these experimentations, they realized that the progenitor virus was pretty useless in its current state, so everyone in the eugenics circle tried to modify the virus. James Marcus returned to the Swiss university that he was working at with the seeds and Brandon Bailey, and they did their research there. Edward Ashford did his research with his son Alexander Ashford. Beardsley, Henry, and Oswald E. Spencer did their research alone. Later that year, Marcus was fired from the university, and now he and Bailey did not have a location to do their research. Since Umbrella Future founders weren't competing yet, Spencer allowed Marcus and Bailey to do their research at his estate in Europe. I think around this time, Edward Ashford would share his research on the progenitor virus. I also think his research would help Marcus and Spencer in their T-virus projects. I only say this because Edward Ashford was the closest one to creating the T-virus. If you want to know why I think this, you can go to my video Birds Tales Untold. I talk about that near the end. Also around this time, Spencer told Edward Ashford and Dr. James Marcus of his plans for them to open a pharmaceutical company. Edward Ashford agreed to the plans, but Marcus wasn't too interested in business. After some convincing, he did agree. In November 1967, construction on the Spencer mansion was completed. I think around this same time, Spencer and his team developed the Type A and the Type B progenitor virus strains. Spencer would travel to the Spencer mansion with his research team, and then he would invite Trevor and his family to stay for a few days. Trevor, still being busy with work, would send his family ahead of him, and he was going to meet them there after he's done. I kinda already said in my video Birds Tales Untold why I don't think Lisa Trevor and her mother Jessica Trevor became test subjects as soon as they arrived to the manor, and I think a lot of the things that Spencer tells Trevor when he arrives to the mansion actually happened. For an example, Lisa Trevor playing the piano, but soon after arriving they would tell Spencer that they were going to leave to visit their Aunt Emma, who was ill. However, Spencer had other plans for them and they were forced to stay. The two became test subjects and they were confined in separate rooms. This could have happened the same day, or would I say a day after they arrived. On the 10th of November, Jessica Trevor was infected with the Type A strain, while Lisa Trevor was infected with the Type B strain. The strain that Jessica Trevor was infected with failed to establish itself in her, while the strain that Lisa Trevor was infected with thrived. Spencer and his team observed Lisa Trevor, but they had no more use for Jessica Trevor. And on the 13th of November, when Jessica Trevor was trying to escape with Lisa Trevor, she was murdered by Spencer and his team. I may talk a little more about Lisa Trevor and her mother in a separate video. The same day Jessica Trevor was killed, George Trevor arrived to the mansion. When he asked Spencer where his family was, Spencer told him that they went to go visit their Aunt Emma, who was ill. That same night, Spencer and Trevor had dinner together. The next day, Spencer gave Trevor a tour of the mansion. He also told Trevor what he wanted to do with the Spencer mansion. He said he wanted it to be a vacation home for the employees of his new pharmaceutical company. He also said he didn't want it just to be for employees. He also wanted to invite test subjects, outsiders, to stay as well. On the 15th of November, Spencer and his team continued to observe Lisa Trevor. They had a female researcher pretend to be Lisa Trevor's mother to keep her calm. But that day, Lisa Trevor realized that the researcher wasn't her mother, so she broke out of her room and ripped the researcher's face off. But before Lisa Trevor can do anything else, the team managed to get her back to her room. On the 20th of November, George Trevor told Spencer that he would be leaving the following day. The next day, Spencer escorted George to the first floor, but George would never leave the mansion. I talk a lot more about George Trevor in my video, Birds Tales Untold. In the year 1968, James Marcus, Oswell E. Spencer, and Edward Ashford founded Umbrella. In 1968, Spencer began the Wesker Project with Dr. Wesker. He doesn't have a first name, his last name is just Wesker. Dr. Wesker was the man who was in charge of the Wesker Project. He and Oswell E. Spencer would take gifted children, infect them with the progenitor virus, and indoctrinate them with Oswell E. Spencer's beliefs. But after the infection, many of the children died. There were only two survivors, Albert Wesker and Alex Wesker. The Wesker Project was supposed to be the beginning for this new world Oswell E. Spencer was going to create, but it was kind of a failure. It's unknown what happened to Dr. Wesker after this. Also, not long after Umbrella was founded, construction on Umbrella's executive training facility would begin. Around that same time, James Marcus and his apprentice Brandon Bailey would plan a trip to Africa to get more samples of the progenitor virus, but it wouldn't make too much sense for them to just go there and just come back with more samples. But with Nilipaya people, it wasn't too safe to build a facility in the cave the flower was grown. So as of now, this was their only choice. But before they can leave, Spencer thought, why don't they just hire some mercenaries and kick those savages off of their land? And that's exactly what he did. However, before Marcus and Bailey could leave, Spencer would request that Marcus go to the new training facility. Bailey would go to Africa, and Umbrella would begin construction on a facility there. Bailey would become the director of that facility, and that facility would be responsible for supplying every other Umbrella facility with the progenitor virus. Also around this time, Spencer wrote a letter addressed to Mother Miranda. He told her about the progenitor virus and Umbrella. Since Umbrella was founded, the founders of Umbrella relationship began to crumble. They all wanted to take control over Umbrella, and for Spencer, Edward Ashford was the biggest threat. If he could complete the T-virus as he was planning on doing, he could probably use it to get most of the company on his side. The same year Umbrella was founded, an accident would occur at Ashford's lab. He would get infected with his version of the progenitor virus, and he would die soon after. This accident was orchestrated by Oswell E. Spencer, and since Spencer knew that Alexander Ashford was basically a failure, there was no way Edward Ashford research would be completed. And well, Spencer was kind of right. Alexander couldn't complete his father's research, and not only that, the Ashford family slowly fell from grace under Alexander. In the mid-1970s, Spencer lost all interest in his T-virus project. By 1977, the two Wesker children had graduated university. Not long after Albert Wesker graduated, he was scouted by Umbrella. He and William Birkin would attend Umbrella's executive training facility. The year was 1978. Birkin and Wesker became James Marcus' trusted proteges. Around this time, Spencer would request that Birkin and Wesker steal a sample of Marcus's T-virus. They were successful, and that same year, Umbrella's executive training facility was closed to students. Wesker and Birkin were transferred to the Arkley lab, and they became senior researchers as a gift for stealing a sample of Marcus's T-virus. Once there, the two began working on a stolen sample. By mixing the Ebola virus with the T-virus, they were able to create the beta strain. However, Spencer was not satisfied with this strain. Spencer needed the virus to infect everyone, but 10% of the population was already immune to the beta strain, so they continued on working on the T-virus. It's unknown exactly when this happened, but sometime in the 1980s, Umbrella Security Service was founded. I kind of mentioned that Spencer was paranoid in my James Marcus video. Spencer was afraid of Marcus. As of now, Marcus was the biggest threat to his plans, and he has been working at the training facility for some time. His new research could have probably been the thing that switched control, or that's what Spencer believed, and now he will have to get rid of that threat. In 1988, Spencer sent the USS to assassinate his former partner. William Birkin and Albert Wesker led the team. That same year, William Birkin discovered a mutant progenitor virus strain inside of Lisa Trevor, and Spencer was interested in this new strain. He funded William Birkin's project, but William Birkin wasn't the only one working on the T-virus. Christina Henry, Dr. Henry's daughter, also assisted with the creation of the G-virus. But once William Birkin was transferred, she was off the team. Time began to take its toll on Spencer, and by the 90s, Spencer would be confined to a wheelchair. This would have been a great time for him to remember about the mode. Also around this time, Alex Wesker became extremely close close to Oswell E. Spencer, so close that he even told her about his plans and the Wesker project. Spencer believed that she was completely loyal to him. It's funny that Spencer expects people to be loyal to him when he isn't loyal to anyone. Anyway, Spencer made Alex Wesker in charge of another eugenics project. She wasn't the only one to get extremely close to Spencer. Colonel Sergei Vladimir, the man whose DNA was used for the Tyrants, also began a relationship with Oswell E. Spencer, and later he would basically become Spencer's security. Also around this time, construction on the nest will begin, and it will be completed in 1992. William Birkin and his team will be transferred there, and the G-Virus research would take place there. Note, the T-Virus was also being researched at the nest. By 1998, the Epsilon strain was completed, thanks a lot to Lisa Trevor. In May 1998, the Queen Leech completely resurrected James Marcus, and he began to take his revenge on Umbrella. An accident would occur at the Arclay lab, causing the newly completed Epsilon strain to spread throughout the lab. The Arclay lab was abandoned soon after. This accident was orchestrated by Dr. Queen Leech James Marcus. Likely due to the recent loss of the Arclay laboratory, Umbrella began to try to reopen the executive training facility. This project was spearheaded by William Birkin and Albert Wesker. On the 23rd of July, the Ecliptic Express was sent to the Umbrella Executive Training Facility. On its way there, it was attacked by Dr. Queen Leech James Marcus. 2 hours later, STAR's Bravo team would arrive at the Arclay Mountains to investigate a series of cannibalistic murders. Because of Dr. Queen Leech James Marcus, Umbrella weren't able to reopen the training facility. Instead, William Birkin destroyed the facility to prevent any information of Dr. James Marcus' assassination from leaving the facility. One day later, STAR's Alpha team would go to the Arclay Mountains. They went there because they lost all contact with STAR's Bravo team. Once there, they took shelter in the Spencer Mansion. They then discovered the Arclay Laboratory. At the Arclay Laboratory, they uncovered many of Umbrella's crimes. Wesker is revealed to be a double agent, and they escaped the destruction of the Arclay Laboratory after defeating the Tyrant. After returning back to Raccoon City, STARS attempted to open an investigation on Umbrella, but with Chief Irons and Mirror Warrant on Umbrella's side, STARS never released it a chance. After Wesker's betrayal, Spencer slowly lost his trust in Birkin. Birkin would pick up on this, and he would soon realize that maybe he's not going to get that executive position he wanted. Birkin would soon begin negotiating with the US military on selling them the G-Virus. Umbrella would learn of these plans, and in September 1998, Spencer sent the USS Alpha team led by Hunk to Umbrella Nest to retrieve the G-Virus. After attempting to resist, Birkin was gunned down. Birkin, trying to seek revenge, would infect himself with his last G-Virus sample. He followed and slaughtered the team in Asurus, but the team also possessed a sample of the T-Virus, and during the commotion, its casing was destroyed. The T-Virus was spread throughout Asurus, and it would soon make its way to Raccoon City. As Raccoon went up in flames, Umbrella's stock began to plummet. On the 1st of October, Spencer realized that there was no more use in staying in Raccoon. He and Vladimir will leave the city as it's being destroyed. With the destruction of Raccoon, Umbrella lost many of their facilities and a lot of their BOWs. Not long after the destruction of Raccoon, Umbrella's involvement became public knowledge, and in 1999, the Umbrella trials began. Spencer and his team got everything that they needed to win this case, that being fake witnesses and bribes. And around this time, the new Umbrella facility in the Caucasus region of the Russian Federation became the de facto base of operations. After the raid of that base, Umbrella lost any chance they had of winning their court case. Why? Because Wesker snuck into the base and he was able to retrieve the UMF-13. The UMF-13 was Umbrella core computer containing all of Umbrella data, and Wesker would send a lot of that data to the US government anonymously. After that, Umbrella lost the case, and in 2004, Umbrella filed for bankruptcy. Spencer became the most wanted man, and this would have been a great time for him to remember about the mode and that isolated village somewhere in Eastern Europe. Spencer, extremely old and weak now, would contact the only person he believed could help him, Alex Wesker. He asked her to create a virus that could restore his youth. Really? Please, Spencer, just remember about the mode that made Mother Miranda immortal. You know about this since the 50s according to Resident Evil 8. Anyway, Alex Wesker took the funds and test subjects. Spencer even gave her an island to do her research on. But after she finished the virus, she never called Spencer again. Spencer, even more desperate to restore his youth, began to work on his his own virus. He even asked his butler Patrick to help him since, he don't have no more researchers. And well, since Spencer still had test subjects at the Spencer estate, he tested the virus on them, but the virus was a failure. Spencer soon realized that he wouldn't be able to complete his plans, but he still had a failsafe, the Wesker project. Spencer told his butler Patrick that he wanted to get in contact with Wesker, and Patrick would tell Ricardo Irving about this. He even gave Irving information on Spencer's location. Irving told Wesker, and in August 2006, Wesker went to the Spencer estate. Wesker murdered his way to Spencer, and in their meeting, he learned everything about the Wesker project and Spencer's plan. Wesker was disgusted by the thought that old and weak man believed that he could be a god, so he murdered that old fool and took on his plans. It's kinda what Spencer wanted. Spencer was the mastermind behind Resident Evil. He was extremely calculating. Spencer was always a few steps ahead of everyone. But in the end, when he realized that he couldn't achieve his goals, he hoped that one of the Wesker children could have. However, Wesker's world would have not been like Spencer's. I don't know much about Alex Wesker, but I doubt her world would have been like his. So what was Spencer's world? Since Spencer hated war, this is one of the reasons why he wanted to create this world. I think that Spencer felt that his world would have been a peaceful one, a world where everyone is equal with only one leader, him. But he felt humans today were flawed, and their flaws was the reason why this world couldn't happen, and he would have to change that. And the only way he knew he could change that was by forcing them to evolve into the perfect human. And for him, those who cannot evolve do not deserve to be in his world. Spencer understood that this world could only belong to a god, and that's where he would have to become a god. But Spencer will never become a god. Instead, he would die a weak, paranoid man. If only Spencer would have used the mode, he probably would have became immortal. However, when it comes to Wesker, I think that even after humans evolve, I feel like Wesker still would have wanted his world to be ruled by the strongest, and he will have to be the strongest, so he will be the ruler. I didn't write this in my script, and I don't know how, but did anyone notice that Spencer is extremely self-righteous? Spencer believed all of his actions were good, since he was going to create a perfect world, and if anyone stood in his way, they were automatically evil, since to him they wanted the world to stay as it is, even with all of its imperfections. For him, they were trying to stop what cannot be stopped. He will become God, and the world will evolve. Speaking of becoming god of the new world, doesn't this sound exactly like Light Yagami? I genuinely felt like I was writing about Light Yagami when I wrote this script. Spencer's and Light's belief are just so close. And just like Light Yagami, Spencer himself is a hypocrite because Spencer is imperfect. And even the person that helped him realize what humans can become was imperfect themselves. That person being Mother Miranda. And part of me say that Spencer knew this. He knew that she was imperfect, and he knew that he was imperfect. He was going to try to make himself perfect. But one of these imperfections that was never going to change was Spencer's paranoia. Spencer was always a paranoid man, and sometimes he would act on that paranoia. Even though he was planning on killing the two founders of Umbrella, he still acted on fear. Spencer feared that control of Umbrella would switch to them, so he felt like he had to kill them sooner than later. Spencer was always afraid that something would get in his way and it would stop him from completing his plans. But in the end, Spencer couldn't do anything with the fear of his plans ending, so he just had to accept it. Another one of Spencer's flaws that he probably never saw as a flaw is his arrogance. Because Spencer saw every human as flawed, he thought that he was the only one who can change these flaws. And with himself, I'm sure Spencer only saw one flaw. What was that flaw? He wasn't immortal. For him, that flaw would be the reason why his dreams wouldn't come true. No matter what, Spencer stayed dedicated, continued on trying to complete his plan. Just imagine if Spencer put that dedication into something else instead of his stupid ass plan. Before I end this chapter, I want to say these last two things. As humans, we've all feared death. And in Spencer's last moment, Spencer is all of us. He's fearing the fact that his life is coming to an end before he is able to achieve his goals. And the last thing is, just like what I said about Marcus, everything that happened with Spencer was Spencer's fault. But the thing that's so funny about Spencer is that he wanted what he wouldn't give. He wanted people to be loyal to him, but he wasn't loyal to anyone. He wanted his researchers to trust him, but he doesn't trust anyone. Spencer left his mark on this world, and he was the start of many Resident Evils. Okay, that was bad. I'm so sorry. That was really bad. Anyway, Spencer left his goal to the Wesker children, but their failure proved that his dream was just a dream. It's kind of funny to look at how Spencer died, since he died from his own creation. The person that he failed was the start to a new world. I kinda already mentioned this in my Wesker video, but that was Spencer's only possible outcome, being killed by his own creation, being killed by his own ambition. Before I end this video, I want to say one last thing. There was a lot of inconsistencies and plot holes when it comes to Spencer, but I wanted to make fun of the one in Resident Evil 8 since it is the newest one. Anyway, if you liked this video, you can give it a like. If you didn't, thank you for the watch time. You can always comment what character you want me to do next. Wesker, I'm dying of old age. I'm extremely weak. If only I knew about something that could make me immortal. Maybe you I can't do Wesker voice. I can't do it. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. My former HCF forces are currently working for the connections, and they are said to be working on the mode. Damn it, Wesker, I'm trying to think of something that could help me. I just thought of it, Wesker. Maybe you could create a virus that could help me. You still here?